The trading floor erupted with chaos as screens flashed red, billions vanishing in seconds. Michael said, "This can't be real, it's a glitch." His voice cracked, sweat dripping down his temple. Sarah, his loyal business partner, whispered, "Michael, it's over." Traders shouted frantically, phones slammed against desks, deals collapsing like falling dominoes. The once glorious $10 million deal was unraveling before his eyes, the empire he built trembling under the weight of betrayal. His mentor Daniel had warned, "Trust carefully, markets have teeth," but he ignored it. Now his empire was collapsing, leaving him gasping for breath, as if the walls themselves were closing in. The weight of ruin crushed his chest, while shadows of betrayal crept closer. Michael's heart pounded as his screen showed a single number, 0. He muttered, "They set me up." Outside, the city lights flickered against the stormy sky, echoing his downfall. The betrayal had begun. Michael stormed into his office, the glass walls vibrating from the chaos outside. He slammed the door, muttering, "This was planned." Sarah followed, her voice trembling. "Michael, maybe we can salvage something." He glared at her, fists pounding the desk. "Don't you see? Someone wanted me destroyed." His laptop blinked with endless alerts, accounts draining, numbers plunging lower. Daniel's voice echoed in his head. "You thought they were partners, but they're predators." Michael sank into his chair, face pale, veins tense on his neck. His eyes darted to a single folder, labeled "Confidential." He whispered, "The deal was poisoned from the start." Outside, the storm raged, rain tapping violently against the windows, the city drowning in neon reflections. Sarah paced the room, biting her lip as her heels clicked on the polished floor. She said, "It doesn't add up, the documents were clean." Michael's eyes burned as he hissed, "They planted this, Sarah." He yanked open the confidential folder, papers scattering like fallen leaves. His eyes widened at signatures that weren't his, numbers altered with surgical precision. "Forgery," he muttered, rage trembling in his voice. Sarah gasped. Who would go this far? Michael clenched the paper, veins bulging in his hands. His voice dropped. "The enemy is inside." Thunder cracked above, lightning illuminating his furious face, as if the storm itself echoed his collapse. Michael leaned against the window, neon rain streaking across the glass. His reflection stared back, fractured by water droplets. He whispered, "They've stolen everything." Sarah's voice cracked. "Michael, we can fight this." He turned sharply, fury in his eyes. "Fight? With what? They've gutted us." His hands pressed hard against the window, palms white with pressure. His phone buzzed on the desk, an unknown number flashing. He muttered, "The devil calls when you're weakest." His finger hovered, then he answered. A smooth voice said, "Michael, we warned you not to cross us, now you'll pay." The line went dead, leaving only the storm's roar. The silence after the call was heavier than thunder. Michael dropped the phone, his body shaking, breath ragged. Sarah whispered, "Who was it?" He replied coldly, "Our executioner." Papers lay scattered like corpses on the floor. His tie hung loose, his shirt damp with sweat, the empire he built crumbling in a single night. Sarah stepped closer, her hand trembling as she reached for his shoulder. "We're not done yet," she said softly. Michael looked up, his eyes bloodshot, but filled with a flicker of fire. He growled, "If they want war, they'll have it." Outside, the storm raged on, the city drowning in shadows and light, echoing the beginning of a brutal financial war. Dawn pressed a cold light through the blinds as the city hummed like a warning siren. Michael paced the apartment, counting breaths like deaths, eyes fixed on the dark television. Sarah said, "We survived the night, but the day wants blood." He rubbed the bridge of his nose and muttered, "It wants mine first." Coffee steamed on the counter, untouched, a small storm trapped in a mug. He opened a battered notebook where old plans lived beside new ruins. Michael said, "I built this to outgrow fear, and now fear wears my name." Sarah stared at the spreadsheet printouts, edges frayed from anxious hands. She said, "Tell me why you started, not how it ends." He looked at the window, watched sirens smear across wet glass and answered, "For a chance. A chance to make this city pay attention to people it forgets," he said, voice steadying. Sarah nodded and whispered, "Then we fight for that." The diner smelled like burnt sugar and second chances. Daniel watched the door as if history might walk in and demand a refund. Michael slid into the booth and said, "You warned me about pretty terms." Daniel said, "Pretty terms hide ugly math." Neon buzzed above them, trembling like a lie about to crack. Michael laid out forged contracts, edges scarred by rage. Daniel said, "You are dealing with architects of absence." He tapped a clause and added, "Someone routed collateral through shadows." Michael said, "Name a shadow that signs its work." Daniel leaned back, eyes tired, and whispered, "Look for the hand that doesn't move." Plates clattered, hope wavered, and the city pressed its face to the glass. Michael said, "Teach me how to see what stands perfectly still." Memory opened like a vault, and the room returned in perfect gloss. Olivia Park smiled with the patience of a metronome while lawyers stacked clauses. Michael said, "10 buys the runway, we bring the wings." Olivia said, "And I bring the weather." Her pen clicked to a rhythm only Prophet could dance to. Leo stood by the glass, quiet, tracking every decimal like a hawk. Michael said, "Non-negotiable are jobs and control of product." Olivia said, "Non-negotiable is the exit." The contract glowed with promises that felt lighter than air. Sarah caught a drift of unease and folded it into silence. The handshake shone for cameras, and the trap grinned behind the lights. Memory closed, leaving the echo of a pen that never stops clicking. News traveled faster than mercy, and inboxes filled with alarms. Ava wrote, "My savings are in the fund, should I be scared?" Michael stared at the message until guilt carved a hollow. He said, "We protect who we can starting now." Sarah said, "Then call the people behind the numbers." They built a list of names that felt heavier than iron. Michael dialed and said, "We are stabilizing, and I will not vanish." Silence answered like a mirror reflecting thunder. He added, "I owe you the truth, and I will earn back the rest." The city lifted its shoulders, rain easing to a tired mist. Daniel texted, "Truth is credit when cash is gone." Michael breathed, counted the names again, and chose the next number. Night gathered its forces while resolve found a chair at the table. Leo spread printouts like a map of fault lines. He said, "Routing anomalies hit just before the plunge." Sarah said, "Somebody timed the blade to the breath." Michael traced the path to a shell that smelled of old smoke. He said, "Follow the smoke to the room with no windows." Daniel called and said, "If you knock, knock once." Michael replied, "I plan to take the door." They outlined tasks with the patience of surgeons and the speed of thieves. Leo said, "We start with logs, then counterparties, then pressure." Sarah met Michael's eyes and said, "You lead, we hold." He nodded and answered, "We take back the weather." The office smelled of burnt wires and panic as Michael flipped through hacked transaction logs. His voice cracked, "They bled us before the collapse." Sarah leaned over, pointing, "Look, same routing code repeats every week." Michael slammed the desk, veins rising in his hands. This was an inside hand guiding the fall. Leo circled numbers with a red marker and said, "The signature lines vanish into a ghost account in Zurich." Rain pounded the windows, like the city itself keeping time with their desperation. Michael whispered, "I trusted them to guard my future, and they carved me apart instead." Sarah said, "Then we find the knife they used." The hum of servers filled the silence as the truth sharpened like steel. Michael met Daniel in a dim parking garage, concrete dripping with echoes. Daniel said, "You wanted wolves as partners. Wolves don't share." Michael's jaw tightened. "Name the wolf." Daniel smirked bitterly. "Olivia Park. She thrives on others' last breaths." Michael's pulse surged, anger coiling tight, She signed the exit clause with a poisoned pen. Daniel lit a cigarette, smoke curling in cold air, and you held the paper like scripture. Michael clenched his teeth. Then I'll tear it apart line by line. Shadows moved in corners, secrets lurking where headlights faded. Daniel said, "You won't win fair. She doesn't play fair." The words clung to the air heavier than the smoke. The whistleblower arrived cloaked in fear, clutching a folder against her chest. Emma said, "I shouldn't be here, but silence is complicity." Michael softened his voice, "Show me what they buried." Her hands trembled as she revealed bank slips, secret transfers flowing like poisoned rivers. Sarah gasped. They drained accounts months before the crash. Emma's eyes glistened. "I worked compliance. I flagged them. They erased my access." Michael whispered, "They wanted no witnesses." Papers rattled in her grip as thunder rolled above. She added, "Olivia signed every approval. She made ruin look legitimate." Michael's chest heaved with rage. Then she built this collapse brick by brick. The folder landed heavy as a confession. Leo traced digital trails on his laptop, eyes sharp with precision. He said, "Every false ledger loops back to one offshore gate." Michael leaned close. "Where?" Leo replied, "Cayman accounts under shell names. Classic misdirection." Sarah muttered, "She spun the web wide enough to choke us." Michael gritted his teeth. "Then we pull one thread until it unravels." Leo's fingers danced, screens reflecting endless strings of numbers and codes. He added, "But she masked her signature under multiple proxies." Michael's eyes burned. "Masks slip. We rip them off." The room buzzed with the low growl of machines, each beep a heartbeat of betrayal. Sarah whispered, "She thought no one would follow this deep." The meeting room filled with unease as Olivia finally appeared, heels echoing like hammers. She smiled thinly. "Michael, storms never last forever, but survivors do." Michael clenched the forged contracts, fire in his eyes. He said, "You orchestrated this ruin." Olivia laughed softly. "Ruin is perspective. For me, it's profit." Sarah whispered, "She admits it." Michael's voice thundered, "You stole futures, not just money." Olivia leaned forward, eyes sharp as glass. "Then learn. Markets don't forgive, they consume." Silence thickened, broken only by the storm outside. Michael's fists tightened, jaw locked with fury. He muttered, "This isn't over." Olivia's smirk lingered like poison, sealing the confrontation with venomous calm. Michael sat alone in the dim office, the city's neon bleeding through blinds like scars. His voice broke. "Every number was rigged before I touched it." Sarah entered quietly, eyes raw with fatigue, and whispered, "Then she set the trap months before." Michael clenched his jaw, teeth grinding against the silence. He said, "Olivia planned my fall as carefully as architects build towers." Daniel's voice crackled through the phone. "She thrives on precision, and you handed her the stage." Michael slammed his palm against the desk, veins visible. "I will not drown in her shadow." The storm outside roared, thunder shaking the glass walls. Sarah touched his arm gently. "Then we burn her script." His eyes lifted, a fire sparking within the ruins. "We turn her perfect plan into ashes." The safe house buzzed with fluorescent lights and humming servers. Leo spread financial maps across the table and said, "She built her empire on shells within shells." Sarah frowned, tracing lines with her finger. "Every false account ties back to her signature." Emma sat nervously, clutching her coat, voice shaking. "If you expose this, you expose me too." Michael looked at her, steady but sharp. "We don't silence truth to protect comfort." Leo's eyes flashed. "One wrong leak, and she'll erase us all." Michael leaned forward, words like steel. "Then we leak louder." The servers whirred, papers fluttering in recycled air, the smell of fear mixing with ozone. Sarah whispered, "This is war, not rescue." Michael replied, "Then let's fight like soldiers, not victims." Michael strode into Olivia's glass tower lobby, his reflection fractured across marble. Olivia stood poised on the mezzanine, voice smooth as silk. "You came to beg, not to win." He glared upward, chest rising with fury. I came to confront. Her laugh echoed like broken glass. You're nothing without me, Michael. Sarah whispered by his side. Don't let her pull you into her game. Michael's voice thundered back. This isn't your empire. It's theft wrapped in gold. Olivia descended slowly, heels clicking like a metronome of control. She leaned close, eyes sharp. Control is survival, and I always survive. Michael's fist curled, but he restrained, muttering, Your survival ends where my truth begins. Silence cut deep as stormlight streaked through glass. In the shadows of the control room, Leo whispered urgently, She's erasing logs in real time. Michael barked, Copy everything before it vanishes. Emma typed furiously, sweat glistening on her brow, She'll trace me back if I stay too long. Sarah grabbed her shoulder firmly. We hold the line. Screens flashed violently, numbers bleeding into black voids. Michael growled, Every file we save is another piece of her coffin. Leo's fingers blurred, capturing data streams. Got it. Fraud pipelines locked. Sparks of panic filled the room, machines humming louder. Emma whispered, If she finds me, I'm finished. Michael steadied his tone. You're not alone. We fall together, or we don't fall at all. The storm outside answered with a surge of lightning. Michael stood on the rooftop, rain soaking his shirt, city sprawling beneath like a battlefield. He screamed into the storm, I will not be her prey. Sarah emerged from the stairwell, clutching her coat tightly. She said, Then don't fight like prey, fight like fire. Michael's eyes burned, voice shaking but steady. She thinks the game is hers, but games break when rules are rewritten. Daniel's call echoed from his phone. Rewrite wisely or you become her. Michael clenched the device, tossed it aside and muttered, Better a broken man than a puppet. Lightning ripped the sky, painting their faces in pale fury. Sarah said, We finish this no matter the cost. Michael whispered, Then tomorrow we hunt. The warehouse reeked of rust and secrets as Michael tore open the stolen files. His eyes froze on a hidden clause buried deep. He whispered, She never planned the exit. She planned my collapse. Sarah leaned closer, voice trembling. That signature isn't hers. Michael's pulse quickened, anger turning sharp. Then, who forged it? Leo typed furiously, tracing metadata. This trail doesn't lead to Olivia. It leads to Daniel. The words slammed into the air like thunder. Michael staggered back, veins tense in his neck. Daniel? The man who warned me? Sarah gasped. He orchestrated both sides. The storm outside howled, echoing betrayal sharper than knives. Michael muttered, He taught me the rules, only to bury me beneath them. Michael slammed his fists against the metal table, the sound cracking like a gunshot. He shouted, Daniel played me from the beginning. Sarah whispered, He was the mentor and the executioner. Leo said grimly, He built Olivia as the mask, but he pulled the strings. Michael's voice dropped into a growl. He warned me because he wanted me desperate enough to obey. Emma, trembling, muttered, That's why he erased me. He needed silence. Michael's breath came in ragged bursts, chest heaving with betrayal. He hissed, He made me fight ghosts while he feasted on the truth. Sarah's hand touched his shoulder, her voice firm. Then we drag him out of the shadows. Michael's eyes flared, and end his empire. Michael stood in front of the old financial tower where Daniel once ruled. His voice cracked. He built his throne on my blood. Sarah said, Then take back what he stole. Olivia appeared behind glass doors, smirking. You finally learned the truth. Michael snarled, You were his weapon. Nothing more. Olivia's laugh was bitter. Weapons choose their masters. She leaned close, whispering, Daniel doesn't lose. He calculates. Michael's fists trembled, rage burning through his veins. He muttered, Then I'll be the miscalculation. Sarah's eyes darted nervously. Michael, don't let him drag you into his fire. The city loomed like an executioner's blade above them. Michael whispered, I'm ready to burn. The safe house erupted in shouts as Leo uncovered new files. He said, Daniel rerouted billions through ghost firms before the crash. Sarah's face paled. He killed everything before it lived. Emma whispered, he buried investors alive in false hope. Michael's voice cut sharp as steel. He used me to launder his lies. Leo looked up, eyes fierce, but now we have the ledger. Sarah added, enough to drag him into the light. Michael's chest heaved, eyes burning. Then we move tonight. Silence fell heavy, only the hum of servers filling the air. Emma's trembling voice broke through. If he knows we're coming, he'll destroy us. Michael replied, if we don't, he destroys everyone else. Michael climbed the steps of Daniel's mansion, storm clouds curling above like witnesses. He muttered, this ends tonight. Sarah's voice behind him steadied, not revenge, justice. The door opened, and Daniel stood calm, cigarette smoke curling around him. He smirked, my greatest student finally arrives. Michael's hands shook, rage flooding his veins. You built me to destroy me. Daniel exhaled smoke slowly. I built you to test if anyone could stop me. Michael's eyes locked, voice trembling. I'll be your test. And your failure. Daniel's grin widened, then step inside. Let's finish the lesson. Lightning cracked, casting their faces in silver fury as war began at the threshold. Michael stepped into Daniel's grand study, walls lined with leather-bound lies. The fire cracked like applause. Daniel smirked. Welcome to my sanctuary. Michael growled, your sanctuary is built on graves. Sarah stood tense near the door, whispering, this is madness. Daniel poured whiskey into crystal and said, madness is building dreams on illusions. Michael's fists trembled as he spat. You taught me loyalty only to gut me with it. Daniel leaned back, smoke curling upward, and you learned quickly. Thunder boomed outside, shaking the mansion windows. Michael said, tonight your empire ends. Daniel's smile widened like a blade, then come take it from me. Daniel leaned forward, eyes sharp as knives. You wanted the truth, Michael. The truth is you were always the pawn. Michael snapped, no pawn walks into the king's chamber alive. Sarah's voice trembled, Michael, don't let him bait you. Daniel raised his glass mockingly. Every loss you suffered was my design. Michael's chest heaved, fury breaking into defiance. Then every scar makes me stronger. Daniel chuckled darkly. Stronger or broken? Michael shouted, I am not broken. I am awake. Lightning tore the sky outside as the words hung like a vow. Sarah whispered, end this before he buries us all. Michael's eyes locked on Daniel. The game ends here. Michael slammed documents onto Daniel's desk, papers scattering like fallen soldiers. He roared, we traced the accounts. Zurich came in, all under your hand. Daniel's smirk faltered, then twisted back into calm arrogance. Proof means nothing when the judge is mine. Sarah shouted, you'll face this in the open. Daniel sneered, I own the open. Michael leaned forward, veins pulsing, not anymore. We broadcast every file tonight. Daniel's hand froze mid-air, cigarette ash falling onto the carpet. His voice lowered to a hiss. You dare betray the hand that built you. Michael's glare cut sharp. You built a monster. Now it hunts you. Thunder rattled the walls, echoing the war declared. Daniel rose slowly, towering with menace, voice calm as poison, broadcast, and you bury yourself too. Michael said through clenched teeth, better ashes than chains. Sarah moved between them, voice shaking. Michael, he'll drag you down with him. Daniel's smile widened. She's right. I don't fall alone. Michael's fists curled, chest rising like a storm surge. Then we fall together. Daniel flicked his cigarette into the fire, flames rising higher, as though feeding on the chaos. He whispered, I made you in my image. Michael shouted back, then watch your reflection shatter. The storm outside screamed with the crash of thunder, shaking the walls as battle lines burned into the night. The mansion thundered with fury. As Michael lunged forward, papers flying into the fire. Daniel caught his arm, their strength colliding like steel. He hissed, you'll never escape my shadow. Michael growled back, shadows vanish in fire. Sarah screamed, "Stop!" as flames devoured evidence, smoke choking the room. Daniel forced Michael against the desk, wood splintering beneath their weight. Michael's eyes blazed. "You won't win this war." Daniel sneered, "I already have." In one final surge, Michael wrenched free, shoving Daniel back toward the fire. Sparks exploded upward, the storm outside roaring in unison. Michael's voice thundered, "Your empire burns tonight." The fire's fury gave way to silence, smoke curling through broken glass. Michael staggered to his feet, chest heaving, eyes fixed on the ruins of Daniel's empire. Sarah whispered, "It's over." He shook his head, voice hollow. "No, it's only beginning." Ashes drifted like snow around them, the evidence half burnt but enough to tear Daniel's mask away. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, drawing closer with each heartbeat. Michael whispered, "He built me to fall, but I rose in the fire." Sarah touched his shoulder gently, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. "You're free, Michael, but freedom has scars." He stared at the burning desk, whispering, "Scars prove survival." Outside, the storm eased into a drizzle, neon lights glistening on soaked pavement. Emma emerged from the shadows, clutching the surviving files. She said, "The world will finally see the truth." Michael nodded, voice rough, "Let them see the rot beneath the gold." Sarah exhaled deeply, her breath fogging in the cold night. "Then it's justice, not revenge." Michael looked at the folder, eyes burning with resolve. Justice carries weight heavier than revenge ever could. The sirens grew louder, red and blue lights painting their faces. Emma whispered, "Then this weight belongs to all of us." Michael clenched his fists. "Together, we carry it." The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the files were revealed, the weight of betrayal spilling into the open. Olivia glared across the chamber, chains on her wrists clinking like broken deals. Michael sat still, face pale but unflinching, as the judge read Daniel's crimes aloud. Sarah whispered, "The storm has moved from shadows to light." Emma leaned closer, voice steady, "But the scars will remain." Michael's hands tightened on the bench, eyes fixed forward. Scars are reminders that truth survives fire. The crowd gasped as the evidence scrolled across the screens, each transfer, each signature, every deception laid bare. Justice breathed in the room like thunder finally spent. Night returned to the city, but the storm had passed. Michael stood on a rooftop overlooking the skyline, neon glowing beneath the stars. Sarah said softly, "The city feels different tonight." He replied, "Not different, just honest." Emma joined them, folder now sealed and safe, whispering, "Truth doesn't erase pain, but it changes direction." Michael's jaw tightened, eyes searching the horizon. Pain becomes fuel. Sarah smiled faintly, and fuel becomes fire to light a new path. Silence lingered, broken only by the hum of the city below. Michael whispered, "Then we light it together." The wind carried the ashes of old wars into the night. Michael's voice cut through the silence, low but unshakable. 10 million burned, but truth lives. Sarah met his eyes, whispering, "And truth is priceless." Emma exhaled, tears glistening. Then it was never a loss, it was a reckoning. Michael looked at the horizon, neon bleeding into dawn, his chest rising steady. He whispered, "They wrote my fall, but I rewrote the ending." The city's hum answered like applause. Sarah placed her hand over his, warmth in the cold air. "This is the beginning, not the end." Michael's eyes narrowed on the skyline, a quiet fire burning within. He muttered, "Let them come. I'm ready."